morning and welcome back to Third Ear Radio. I am Precious and we are excited to have you back again with this week. We're going to be talking about gifts of the Spirit and we have a wonderful guest. I'm excited to introduce him to you all. His name is Michael Quattlebaum and he definitely can speak about gifts of the Spirit. So we're going to get started right now with our lovely Reverend Ruth, our meditation guru. Ruth, why don't you take it away?
Hey, good morning. How's everyone doing? I think that this is a fabulous morning, and so we're just going to close our eyes and take a deep breath in and realize that the gifts of the Spirit are truly in this room, for we have come together to talk about the greatest talk that you can have, the gift of God. And so this morning we know that this show will be a blessing to each person within the sound of our voice and that you will share this blessing with friends. We accept it, we know it, we give thanks for it, and so it is.
And so it is. Ruth, you know, I have to ask you, how was your weekend?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so this weekend I had the privilege of going out to the Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, and I gave sometimes people call it a sermon, I call it a talk.
Gave your talk.
Just a little conversation, about God. Right. And what they wanted to talk about was using the principles of science of mind. Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about it and did our thing, but what I know is that when you go within, you are already practicing the principles. When you breathe, you are practicing the principles.
Yes.
And, one time I was at City of Angels Church, and I was teaching Sunday school, but the minister's sermon topic was, "It's so easy." It is so easy that sometimes we make everything work and we make everything hard. But listen, if you just take a moment and just sit with it, mm-hmm. if you just let go and not say, am I a Christian? Am I this? Am I that? But just let it all go and say, you know what? I don't care what I am. I'm going to sit here.
Yes.
And in the sitting, you will begin to realize and you will begin to feel and you will begin to have this urgency that comes over. He says, you know what? You're okay just like you are.
Right.
And so we have to recognize that. But I did have a wonderful time at Riverside. And you know what? They're going to ask me again because they told me. Also, this morning as I was preparing for the show, I turned on the television and I went to a program about Black history. And today we're having the Martin Luther King program.
Yes.
And they told the story.
Happy MLK Day, everybody.
Hey, everybody at the parade. I'll be there in a minute. But they told the story of this young man who had tried to apply to a all-white college that was 15 minutes from his house. Mm-hmm. And he went and he applied and they turned him down. And of course, he went through a lot of violence. People were beating him up and everything, but he kept applying. And so finally, they put him in jail because some white men asked him to carry some chicken feet from their farm to the store. Mm. And it was a setup. Mm-hmm. And so they got him to carry the chicken feet and he got arrested in the process and put in jail for 10 years. Mm. While he was in jail, because of his mental consciousness, and I'm sure everything that was going on, he contracted a disease in his body called colon cancer. Mm. And so an attorney came forth, and it was really bad. They weren't giving him the medicine that he needed. And they tried to get him out of jail, but they refused to let him go. They made him go back out into the fields. They made him continue to work. And in the end, they sent him home like about a week or two before he made his transition. And we hear these stories, and we have so many young people who don't know about the history of some of the things that have happened here on this planet. And then we look into those things, and we wonder about the consciousness of man. And so I think the gifts of the Spirit that we're going to talk about today are going to open some doors so that people are shifting their thinking, no matter what nationality they are, and really identifying with some of the things that have happened, and maybe, just maybe, letting go of some of the racial prejudices and the things that are on their mind in this time, because the existence, sometimes it's still here. So, it was very interesting.
I think you made a really good point earlier, and that point is that it's so easy that people overcomplicate it. Mm-hmm. They're waiting for something magical and mystical to happen, and the breath of life is the magic.
Exactly.
And God is ever present. I say this all the time. People say, well, when God is ready for me to receive my blessing, God stays ready. You have to be ready. I was talking to a young lady this weekend, and she was telling me she didn't know what her gift was. Well, the gift of the spirits are many. It can be compassion. It can be, maybe cooking may be a part of your gift because you are healing people. We're going to have a lady on in 2 weeks, and that is her gift.
Yes.
She heals people through the food that she makes. She listens to the vegetables. She listens to the spices, and she directs her energy for healing. That is a gift of the Spirit. So, a lot of times people are waiting for clairvoyance or to hear a voice. And for some of us, that is our gift. And it's challenging at times. But, the gifts are many. So what you really have to do is know who you are and know your vibration and understand how you show up and what your purpose to do.
Well, this is what happened for me. I still do hair some days, but I was a hairstylist owning a salon for over 28 years. The thing about it is that I knew when I was a little girl that I loved combing hair. I was always fooling around with somebody doing something, and I was a business major. Of course, I went into the business field and did well in there. Worked for the district attorney, had a good job. But what happened is I was always attracted to doing someone's hair. As I began to study metaphysics and go into that, I realized that I was working on their crown chakra, and that every time I touched them, I was being allowed to do healing work. And so that made it even more fun for me to do it because I was like, wow, I get to do this, and it just feels good, And it allowed me to have conversations with people that we normally wouldn't have because they wanted to know about, what's your background, what's your Christianity, and all. And I said, well, I'm not really a Christian. I'm just Ruth. Come on, let me do your hair. But when I get through talking to them, they be like, girl, I'll see you next week.
Right.
So I don't know if they would come up for their hair or what I was saying, but I took the money anyway.
How about both?
Both. Because it didn't matter what they were coming for. They came all the time. And I know that I was able to give that gift. I think that many times in my book I talk about there are things that you do in your life that you take so for granted. Like even with cooking. You might just like to cook. You never think about this is the thing that makes my money. Because we are born with our gifts. So if we inventory, when we're going through something, if we kind of inventory or journal about our lives, we'll see that there's something that we always were doing that gave us like therapy. Was that therapy. Girl, I'm going to go in here and cook some greens, and when I get through with these greens, I'm going to know the answer.
Comes to us naturally.
So what I suggest a lot of times is pay attention to the things that you pay the least attention to. The things that come so easy that you do them, and people say, God, you're really good at that. And you go, girl, I know, but I like to do.
Right.
And when you really come and look at that, that's the thing that enriches your life. That's the thing that's your gift. That's the thing that when you give it, people feel it. You know what I mean? And that's how I was able to. And even now, I still do hair part-time because they won't let me go.
Right.
I don't want to let them go either, but they won't let me go. You understand?
Right.
Because they still come so that we can have these conversations and we're allowed to talk. And their bodies are going through transitional stages. So as we're talking about the aches and the pains in their body, I use essential oil so that I can do some therapy on the low that they don't know about in the products.
And that's a gift of the Spirit.
That's a gift of the Spirit.
It's a healing.
So, when you realize what your gift is, whether it's cooking, sewing, reading books, writing books, whatever
and your gifts are many. Your gifts are many.
And often there's things that come out of what you do, the gift that's even a greater gift. My sitting here today is a gift of the Spirit from when I was doing hair and initially learning a little bit more about myself and going through my life healing and becoming the Ruth that I am now. So,
Ruth, we had a question, an emailed question to us from one of our show guests, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole, for being a faithful watcher. She thanked us both for such a wonderful hour each Monday. Thanks for being with us. And her question is, how do we check in with God? How do we come into the practice of knowing, not just faith that we are heard and answered? How do we know when it's not just us or the chatter of the world around us? As always, thank you. So I want to say to you directly, Nicole, and anyone else watching, you just know. It just is. The breath that you breathe is the evidence of God. You have to know that God is nearer than the breath, ever present. Always has been, will always be. God never made anything that could undo itself. So when you speak to God, you just have to know that you're heard. Faith comes without seeing, and it's deeper than knowing, because a lot of times knowing is the evidence of something. Just have the faith that when you speak, God is listening, and there are no such things as unanswered prayer. It just may not be answered in the way that you're looking for it to come. Be open and be present. And then that is how you experience God, is to be right where you are, not in your deposition for tomorrow, because I know you're an attorney, Nicole, not in your deposition for tomorrow, or what's happening in the office while you're there in the courtroom, or what's going on with your client when they leave you. You have to take time to be present in yourself, and that's where you get your answer. That's where the evidence comes from. What would you say to that, Ruth?
For me, I believe that we were born in God,
Oh,
never
yes.
without God. When you open your eyes in the morning, you're with God. When you close them at night, you're with God. As you move through the day, you're with God. When you can recognize that, your third ear then opens up and you hear and see things that you don't have to seek them, they seek you.
Right.
And I find many times that people think that they have to be in a certain religion or do certain practices every morning. If I don't get in a position to do my meditation, you are always with God. What was going on this planet before we came up with all the
Right.
techniques and all the
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4,
And
5?
the right way to do things,
the list,
right? Yeah.
Did you go by the list? What is the list?
Right.
That you're killing me with the list, because the bottom line is I am always and will always be with God.
Always.
And when I recognize that, then I'm going to be exactly what I'm supposed to be. Even if
Right.
I say something that ticks you off, because sometimes you got to use words that people can understand.
Hey.
So I'm just saying,
Use the language
when you
they
wake up in the
use.
morning knowing which way you going, then you are there whether you want to be there or not. Because
Yes.
God don't walk away from you. You walk away from God.
Right,
That's
right,
simple
right,
fact.
right.
If you're an attorney and you go in and do a case, say, God, walk in before me, say the words, heal the case.
Right.
It's going to
right.
be done because God don't know how to say no.
Right.
The only time no comes up is when we say, I didn't repent. I didn't get on my knees. I didn't do my meditation. Oh, girl, I took a glass of red wine. Am I a sinner? Come on, for real, though? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about God.
Right.
God is God, forever God.
Right.
Whatever you want to call it, universal spirit, dynamic force, I don't care. It just is because it is. And when you realize that, you're going to make mistakes in life. Some you're going to have good
It's a
days,
part of
bad
being
days.
human.
It's a part of
It's the human
being
experience.
human. But know that even within what looks like a mistake, God is there. So just change your road. If you're going down the bumpy road, look for the smooth one. But go within and say, yes, I am. Here I am. You want to say something special? Say, okay, God, do the work because I can't do it.
Right. And
Let's
that's
not
the
make it
truth
hard.
of the
Let's
matter.
not make
That's
it
the truth
hard.
of the matter.
I think that we just make it too hard. And because people make money off of religion and do a lot of things, and we're all there to get paid. But at the end of the day, come on, you're connected with spirit whether you want it or not.
Right.
God will not let you go.
That's the thing I love is the
Thing I
truth
know.
does not require your belief in order for it
Nothing.
to be. It's a beautiful thing. But one thing that really helped me in my journey is recognizing that it's not me. Mm-hmm. It is me. God is me as me is me. Okay. It's the God in me, but I don't have to be a genius. I don't have to know what I'm going to go in here and how I'm going to heal and how I'm going to touch. I just have to empty myself out and know that God is enough. And that if God is sending me forward, that what I need will be given in the moment that it is needed. So I work on being empty a lot.
And then the other thing you got to remember is that you always have choice. How many
Yes.
times you get up in the morning and you get ready to start one way and you'll hear voices say, go do this first. Mm-hmm. And you're battling. No, I'm going to go do this. And the voices say, go do this first. And then you'll go do your way. And then you realize that you heard the voice. So one of the things I say is, listen. Listening is one of the greatest tools you can use. If you want to know what the truth is, ask the question and listen. If you want to know which road to travel, ask the question and listen. But as human beings, we move a lot, we talk a lot, we do a whole bunch of action, and we're not really doing nothing but action.
Yes.
So sometimes we got to bring it down to the low level, calm down, sit down, and say, you know what, I'm just going to sit here. It doesn't matter. I don't even have any words.
And do yourself a favor.
And just be. Just
do
be
yourself
in the
a
moment.
favor. Recognize the God in you. That's where you start. You're looking up so much for something that exists outside of yourself. You were made in the image and likeness. Either you believe that or you don't. Regardless of what your spiritual beliefs, your religious practices, you have to believe that God is inside of you in order to access God. Otherwise, you're going to be reaching for something that is always out of reach. God is ever present. And you don't have to be confident in yourself. Be confident in the God force, that God is always at work and on your behalf. You know, you got to not sometimes, you always have to monitor and change how you're perceiving things. That's how you change your experience.
Well, you know, we read all these books and everybody reads the Bible. They will Bible beat you in a minute with it. And, you know, they go and they say, you know, we were created and born in the image and likeness of God. Well, if that's the truth, then live in your truth.
Live in your truth.
You always got the Bible. Live in your truth.
Right.
If that's what it says, then why aren't you living in it?
Right.
I might be a little controversial here. You know, somebody can be mad at me, but I'm good.
I like that.
Because
That's
I believe it. I believe that we have to live in it. Don't just read it, be it.
Yes.
If that's what your practice is, then be it.
God,
if he said, if the Bible, as they say, God said, we were born in his image and likeness. Genesis 24 through 27. He says, born in my image and likeness, giving you dominion over everything. You were born rich and you were born God. Okay, what else you need?
Go.
Let's just talk about it.
That's right.
You got the Bible. I'm not making it up. Read the book.
God in me as me. That's right.
And the truth is, we make God so hard. We make living life so hard. We go through so many painful things. Our body aches. Our body aches. You know, Ernest Holmes says in his book, there is but one mind, and that's the mind of God. Well, if that's the truth for those who believe metaphysics, then we are. You know, come on. You guys read this stuff. You play around with it. You go to Bible study. You go to metaphysical study. You take Science of Mind 1. You do all of these things. You got the Buddha. You got everything. And you're still seeking what already is.
Inside of you.
It's here. It exists. It just is. We can't battle with it. Mm-hmm. And, every day is not going to be perfect because we're not perfect. Some days we wake up and we put the left shoe on the right foot. But guess what? Change the shoe. Jesus.
I love it. Ruth has our in-studio audience going today. I love it. So this is a good time for us to take our break. We're going to hear a song from the beautiful Ricky Byers-Beckwith, and it's I Feel Like Letting Go. How appropriate,
How
right?
appropriate is that? Okay, let go.
Can I just let go? If I can let go, the darkness will fade. If I can just let go, there's a light all around me, but the pain in my thought has kept
I'm partial to Ricky. That's let go, let God. How appropriate, right? Okay, so we are excited to introduce to you Michael Quattlebaum. I'm not going to say too much about who he is. I'm going to let him tell us who he is. Okay? Welcome to the show, Michael.
Oh, so happy to be here as a in-studio guest. I'm already filled with the Spirit.
Yes. You guys, this laugh is going to get you. This is the best laugh ever. Okay?
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
Michael, I met Michael a few years back at my aunt's wedding. Him and his lovely wife, Saina. I call her Sai. We all call her Sai, right? Sai, she's in our audience there. And they are wonderful people. Michael does soul work. He does soul readings. And some of us may know what that is and some of us may not. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael, and the work that you do?
Sure. Soul readings came about because I believe that we are all connected through God, through our soul. And as Reverend Ruth already said so eloquently, it doesn't matter what your religious background is. All of us have a soul. Matter of fact, all things have a soul, because the soul is that thing that holds what spirit is. Mm-hmm. When I met Precious, she spoke in two languages. She spoke the language of us humans, but she also spoke the language of spirit. And she would often say, well, spirit says, and spirit this. And spirit is everything and everywhere. But spirit needs something, a vessel, in order to project itself even as spirit, and that thing is called our soul. Mm-hmm. Now, the human soul is something that is totally unique, because animals have souls, but animal souls are collective. So an animal soul is such as a dog. All dogs have a collective soul. So all dogs act the same way to a certain degree, and it's their nature. They don't know how to be any other thing, just like all fish. So their souls are collective, but God made us unique in that our souls are uniquely different, like a snowflake, each of them. So I heard Reverend Ruth say earlier in the show that we were created in the image and likeness of God. And in that creation story, it also talks about how God created us male and female. Now, I doubt when I first heard that, I thought, oh, he created males and females. But it doesn't say that. Oh. It said God created us male and female.
That's right.
So now, let me tell you a little secret. So your soul is male and female, and your soul has a preference about its expression every lifetime.
That's right.
So if I'm a male, but my soul has a preference to express itself as a female in this lifetime, because I chose a male body and my soul expresses itself as a female, I'm still a creation of God.
That's right. That's
so
right.
I want to clear that up right away.
Yes.
Because God don't make mistakes.
At all.
And
write that down.
People want to talk about gay people or these transgender and all of these things, but their soul has the ability to express male or female, because they were created male and female.
Drop the mic, y'all. There you go. There you have it. I love that.
I said something similar to that because I had a friend who is gay, and she said, well, why am I so feminine in design, but I love the masculine energy? I said, well, maybe this time you wanted to try that body and use your masculine energy.
Exactly.
I said, and you have the right to that, because I can't contradict it. That's who you are.
My soul has a preference for being male, because now this is no offense to women, but it's rough. I don't know if I can handle it.
I don't know if I would object to that. Yes.
I don't know if I can handle it. It takes a character and a strength to be a woman in today's society, but in any society.
Right.
So in my choices, I know that to have the experience, because we all have to have the experience of loving and mothering and caring. I know I chose a woman, but I chose a woman in a male's body. I know I was gay in some life.
yes,
I just couldn't do it.
Yes.
I was like, look, I'll take the inner woman, but I can't be the outer woman.
But you know what's so beautiful? You said God does not make mistakes.
No,
now, if
no.
that doesn't feed your spirit, what does? If you come here and your soul may have expressed in this lifetime as male, but inherently your soul has the preference of female, then absolutely your transgender experience, it makes so much sense from a soul's perspective.
Exactly.
Well, you know, I
Right?
also wonder, Michael, do you feel this way? Sometimes I think God has a little humor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God has
So, you know, he puts it
God
out there.
has a great sense of humor.
So he puts it out there all kind. He's I'm gonna give it to you like that,
Right.
and I'm gonna give it to you like this. I'm gonna make some black. I'm gonna make some yellow. I'm gonna make some red. I'm gonna make some that look like men, but they got the female design. And I think that it gives an opportunity to step out of judgment and allow it to just be what it is, to be enjoy.
Reverend Ruth, you said it. You know, I also was brought up in, they call it Center for Spiritual Living now, but in my day it was Church of Religious Science.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Right. And, and I made it all the way to a practitioner but I remember being in class one day and they said this statement that I couldn't wrap my brain around at the time. And they said, as a soul, you chose to come in the vehicle that you are.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay, so for me, I was like, I chose African American and to be poor.
Yes, you did.
I could not wrap my brain around why would I choose that. So then the minister helped me. He was like, okay, well, he said, if you didn't choose it all on your own, a greater voice
That's it.
helped chose with you.
That's right.
Now, not chose for you, because still, we have free will, because it's still your choice.
We have free will.
Yes, it's your choice.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Don't forget that gift.
Right. So, if you recognize that you chose this, your life, the way it is, you chose it. You would quit judging your own self.
That's right.
And your own life.
Exactly.
That would have to bring a different perspective. And then you would have to say, instead of, oh, why did I choose? Really go in there and ask that, why did I choose?
Yes. It's about balancing of the spirit.
What
It's
am I
about
wanting to
balancing
experience
your
this
soul.
time?
Yes.
Yeah, what am I going to do so that I can experience more God in this form? This is something that people really have a hard time with, this whole concept. I understood depression and suicide better when I understood the soul's journey.
Yes.
Because sometimes people cannot resolve, though they don't understand what it is, they can't resolve what their spirit came to do and the path that they chose and their humanness. They are forgetting who they are, so there's this spiritual dissonance that they're feeling. And it's the experience of depression. They feel lost in their way. And it's not that I champion suicide, but I understand that dissonance and how the inside is like, I want to come back and do this.
Well, can I ask you a question? What do you think about race consciousness in reference to what she's saying? You know, we live out of what we're taught, and out of that comes the depressions, the sadness, all of the things that we're not able to feel. So how does the soul respond to that? You know, getting you back in check so that the thought of suicide or some of those things don't occur.
Well, in our soul's journey, I reference a book, and if anyone has any interest in the soul and its journey, there's a wonderful book by Dr. Michael Newton, and it's called Journey of Souls.
Yes, I know
You
that
gave
book.
me that.
It is
book when
the
I met you.
right.
Yeah,
It is
sent
one of
that
the
to
most
me.
amazing
It is.
books. Dr. Michael Newton was a psychologist who started doing regression therapy.
Right.
And what he realized is that with a couple of his patients, when he regressed them, and he was trying to regress them back to the point of their trauma, so that they could, of course, address it. But in this regression, they not only went back, but they went back not to another life, but they went back to the life in between lives.
That journey.
The
in
life
between,
that
right.
we have when we're still a soul.
Right.
And he thought this so fascinating that he documented this, excuse me, in such a scientific way that even though he's talking about the soul, the book reads like a scientific journal. And I found this to be one of the most amazing things, because there are things when you hear this book that just awakens in your soul. It's to me, it's like my experience here listening to Reverend Ruth. You just recognize that it's real.
Right.
And you didn't even know it was there, but when you hear it,
Right.
you know. You know.
Right.
Exactly what Precious said. You just know that you know. Now, I want to get back to one other thing that you two talked about, that image and likeness.
Right.
Why? Because I'm a metaphysical Bible student and I love this. So why image and likeness? Because image and likeness, why did they use those two words? Those words sound so similar that they could even be the same. Right. So why image and likeness? Well, image or imaging is our ability to see. Image, the word imagine comes from the word image. So where we're in the image of God, it's our ability to perceive or see as God. Likeness is feeling. Likeness is a thing that if I liken myself to a situation or a thing, I'm like it in the way that I feel it, that perceive that way. I may look different, but I feel the same. So our image and likeness of God is our ability to first perceive and second feel as God. Now, as image and likeness, though, those are the first two veils that the soul interacts with. Now, when I say veil, I mean this. As a soul, we come into a body, and people would think, well, the body is the first veil, but it's not. The body is the last veil. The first veil, because when the soul comes into the body, and Dr. Newton talks about this in this book, when the soul comes into, and I want you to think of a baby, and all of us know babies, when the soul comes into the body of a baby, the first thing that the soul has to do is to interact with the mind of the child and meld with the mind of the child. Each of our minds as a human has what we call a resonance or a frequency. And this difference is so unique, it's like a fingerprint. No two minds are the same. They're just not. And so when each soul comes in, its relationship to the mind has to be built. Now, Dr. Newton says this. In this one case, the soul came into the mind of a child. The child said to the soul, "Who are you?" And the soul says, "Well, I'm you." And the child's mind said, "Well, if you're me, then who am I?" Therein lies, excuse me, and we think it's our first identity, but it's our second identity, our personality, self-identity, or what we all call what? Our ego. Right. And this battle, as it were, or this melding, or this connection that goes on with our soul and our ego identification, our mind self, now plays out the rest of our lives. So why soul readings?
Yes.
Well, soul readings have the benefit of bringing the perception, image and likeness of God to us that our own mind can never have. It's like you and I looking at each other like we are now across. But our soul's perspective would be looking at all of us from above, taking in the whole picture, seeing everything in the room, not leaving out any detail. So a soul reading brings that, Because if I'm looking at myself, even as I look at myself in the mirror, I can't see my backside unless I do what? Turn around. Now, that's figuratively speaking. But if I've got a real situation in life that's happening on the backside and I don't know how to figuratively turn around, will I ever see it? Right. No. I might need somebody else to help me, but I don't know how to turn around and see what's behind me. I may not know how to turn around and even see in certain circumstances, even what's right in front of me. But my soul has the ability to see 360.
Yes. Right. Yes.
At any time and in all times.
Okay, so how do we know if we're going to get a good soul reading? Who do we find? How do we find you?
Well, here's a wonderful thing. And, I wanted to talk about, in a general way, what's a good reading. Okay. Because I don't know if people have ever been to a reader, and if you ever thought about going to a reader. I want to give you an idea from a reader. It's almost like, if I wanted to buy a car and I knew somebody who sold cars, I think I would go to him and say, hey, how do I get a good deal? Right. Because this is what you do. Right. So I would want to know. So as a reader, I say this. First of all, a reader shouldn't tell you anything that inwardly you really don't already know. Correct. You may not have ever heard it put that way. But you know. But when you hear it, you just know. Right. You know it. You just know he said something. Right. And the real question might be, how the heck did you know that?
That's right.
Right.
Okay. Right. And that should happen early on. Right. So that you know that the reader is really a good reader. So I hear people say, oh, I went to this reader and they told me I was Cleopatra in another life. I'm like, I don't know how that helped you in this life. Because you ain't Cleopatra in this life. That's right. Right. So I don't know how relevant that is. That may be good to know, but that's not something that you could ever confirm. So you looking for a reader to first tell you something about you that you can confirm. First of all. Secondly, I know there's a lot of readers out there who are doing what they do for a living. And I'm not against that at all. If it's a way for you to give a service and benefit from that service, I'm 100% for that. But a reader's main concern should be, your level of satisfaction with what I just said. Right. If you went to a restaurant, if you went to a restaurant and you ordered a certain dish and that certain dish wasn't up to par, you have the ability to send that dish back and tell them, I'm not paying for that. Right. And a reading should be the same thing. If you go to a reader and the reader tells you something and when you're done, you're like, you didn't tell me nothing.
So I'm Cleopatra now, right?
Yeah, Cleopatra, because you act so plainly.
Right. So find a reader whose policy is, if you're not satisfied, it was free.
I love that.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
So why would someone seek out a soul reading? What would be?
Well, here's the benefit of a soul reading. A soul reading is exactly what you two spoke about earlier in terms of what's going on in my life in this moment, what's present. Because if you go to a reader, there's something up. Exactly. There's something you need to know, or there's something that's going on that's distressing you right now.
Right. Because you're seeking it.
Exactly. So a soul reading reflects what heaven has to say to you about where you are right now, how you got there, and if it's your choice, how you can go somewhere else.
I love that you said what heaven has to say to you, because I know sometimes when people seek me out, I have to tell them I'm not a psychic. It's not a Q&A thing. It's about what is the business at hand. What is it that God is sharing with you? What is it that God is expressing and you're not allowing through?
Exactly.
So yeah, I love that.
That is the first thing I tell people. People come to me and they'll have their list of questions, and the first thing I tell them is, okay, I'm going to allow you to ask every question that you want to ask, but it's going to be at the end.
Oh, I
Okay.
love that.
Because,
That's a
right.
that's a good
Now,
way to do it, too.
and this is how, and I tell them, so this is how it's going to go. So first, I'm going to start off in a very general way. Why? Because heaven speaks to me in a general way because I don't know you yet.
Right.
But as much as I spend time with you in this reading and speak to you, heaven is going to help me to become more clear about what, as you just said, what it has to say to you.
Correct.
And that's what we're going to talk about. And then when heaven is done talking, you can ask me anything you want.
love that
So
approach.
I never tell a person what I'm going to be able to tell you because I don't know what's up.
That's right.
Right. And if you come to me in all honesty, you don't know what's up either.
How about that? Because you're asking.
I feel you on that because, and a lot of times I know when I do a sermon, I don't take notes and books and stuff, And they said, Reverend Ruth, you didn't write anything down. I said, well, if Spirit's speaking, I'm just here to be the pretty one. He's going to do the work. So,
with your cute self.
I always say, I'll be the pretty one, you do the talking.
Yes.
Because at that time, I'm opening myself up for Spirit because to talk to everybody in the room, give them whatever I was brought there to do.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying because when you allow Spirit, that's the truth. That's not your ego. That's the truth.
Yes.
And it comes forth naturally.
Yes.
You said it earlier. You're saying it now. It's the emptying out that I was talking about.
Yes,
really
it is.
just allowing God to
That's
step
right.
in.
Yes.
And I really like your approach to that. I never thought about that because people, when they come, they always want to know the same thing. Where's my man?
Where's my money?
Where's my money? And where's my job? And those are really like the least important things.
Those are the three basics.
Every
for
time.
going to a reader. Three
Where's
basic
my
questions.
man, my money, and my job? And that's really not what is. I mean, you know.
It's the truth.
It's not what God is saying to you. It's the least important. But please, Sai, come on in, sweetheart. And I want Sai to do it because I want them to see your shirt. This is Michael's lovely wife, Saina. Check out that shirt she's got on. She's a rock star. That's right. Follow your karma. It's really about what God is saying to you. That's always the most important. I love that. And something else since meeting you, first of all, when you gave me that book to read, I had to put it down so many times because I was just like, whoa.
Yes.
I know this.
Yes.
And this is the first time I'm hearing this.
Yes.
Not only did I know that, my soul was acknowledging the experiences. Multiple.
Yes.
The experiences and when I got to the part about the souls and how you're born into a family, they may not be a part of your soul tribe. I understood that. That's why so many times people feel like they're deposited into a family. Like, I don't know you people. I don't belong with you. It's because they're not a part of your soul pod. I totally understood that when I was having that experience. And another thing I did, which has profoundly changed how I operate since meeting you, Michael, was you got me to stop separating myself from God when I speak about Spirit.
Exactly.
And just tell what it is as opposed to what Spirit says, because I was relying on that outside assistance. And so then I shifted and I just got into alignment. And so it's easier for me to just give the message.
It's an inside job.
Yeah, it is an inside job. God in me, as me, is me.
So we're talking about something that we want to put words to in this way. How much are you giving God to work with? Mm-hmm. Because just as much as you're giving God, that's how much you're getting back. So if you're not getting back in your spiritual practice, and forget spiritual practice, if you're not getting what you want out of life, you're not. And when I say give, because and we all know this, but we don't know who we're supposed to give it to. Give it to God.
Yes.
Which is to give it to your own self, your own higher self, your own divine self, your true self, whatever you want to call it.
Semantics.
We're all God. Right. Exactly. Reverend Ruth said it. But if you're not getting enough back, it's because you're not giving the universe enough to work with.
I love
Here's
it.
a true story. My wife works as a chef.
A phenomenal chef.
And a great chef. And she deals with young people, and she deals with just a myriad number of people. One day she came to me, she was like, I want to do more. I want to serve more. And I'm like, hey, that's great. But, you can serve right where you are.
Yes.
Being exactly who you are. But in order to serve, you need to give God more to work with. Mm-hmm. She took that. She understood that. Now she's mentoring young people. She's got programs to bring young women into the field. Just all these things. Now, her job didn't change.
Right.
But her perception shifted. Mm-hmm. And she started giving more to heaven. And heaven showed her how much she really had to work with.
Yes.
Reverend Ruth said it. It's already there.
Right.
Everything that we need is already there. Why don't we see it? Because we don't bring our consciousness to it. We want it to come to our consciousness.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I kind of went through something like that, because I had made a lot of money. There was a period in my mind where I was making a lot of money. I was doing spiritual work, not really being, totally in tune, just using it when I wanted to. You know how you do.
Yeah.
So, no, you don't know, but I know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we know.
So what happened is my money disappeared. And like so many people, I panicked. What the heck is going on with the money? and I started calling my children, I need some money. And they were like, Mom, why are you calling us and you talking all that metaphysical crap?
Right.
And I had to take a look in the mirror and say, Ruth, are you being true to what you teach? Or are you talking loud and talking about nothing? Mm-hmm. And I had to take a soul look at myself, Michael.
Yes.
And in doing that, something said, shut up.
Shut up, Ruth. With a whole lot of love, though.
Why is our guest looking like he's confused? Did you get it? You understand what I'm saying? See, sometimes people don't want to keep it real. I got to keep it real.
Sometimes you got to shut up.
The reason I'm doing this because I understand I'm really feeling him on the soul journey. I'm totally getting the soul readings. And I realized that I had to do a soul reading with me.
Hey.
And particularly now, after hearing you talk, it makes me want to go a little bit deeper because there's some things that I want to do. And I got them wrote on my vision board and all that, but I got to go deeper with me. I mean, come on, it's a daily work. Let's be real.
I want to say this, and as a practitioner, I find that it's assistive to me when I seek assistance from other people. Because I do my work, and then I seek outside assistance in the areas where I know, okay, I can go deeper on this, but I don't know how to, and that's okay, because I'm going to work with someone that does know how to. And I know myself, I help helpers. So when I go to somebody, I need them to be able to really do the work with me.
And you know what I want to address too? I understand you as a soul reader, because I've gone to readers before. And sometimes they'll say, well, you're going to get $10 million. I'm like, I didn't come to hear that.
But thank you.
But those are the kind of readings. So I quit. I said, well, I'm not going to a reader, because my friends were going to say, oh, well, let me go. And I said, why am I here? And that's always a question I ask too. Why am I here? If I come to you for a soul reading, why? What am I seeking?
Oh yes, most definitely. It's funny when Precious and I met. Now I do readings, but I can't read myself.
Hello.
And the first thing I asked her, it was like, would you please come do a reading for me? Because, again, now, why can't I read my own self? Because I'm not completely free out of my ego.
That's right.
Either.
It's the human experience.
I have a perception of myself that ain't real.
Don't even okay. See,
it's not real. Now, can I go into myself and my meditation and all of that? Yeah, I can. Yes. But that's still not like having somebody. I told you, when you look in the mirror, you cannot see your hindsight. Right. Okay?
Right.
how much beautiful is it? Can you call someone and say,
Exactly.
how do I look from the back?
See, that's what I'm talking about, because I
There
can
you
see,
go.
I can see what I'm seeing,
Right.
but I want the whole truth,
The whole
of the
picture.
And God put us
And that's-
here together for a reason.
As assistants,
Yes.
Reach out
as
and work with one
assistants
another.
to each other.
And
Yes.
a lot of times I feel sparked or challenged by the people that ask me for readings. But I am working through that because it's an ego check for me, because I have people come to me that this is who the people go to. And so they come to me. And so my ego gets sparked every time. Like, why are they asking me instead of just being present? So it helps me when I meet people like you, when I meet people like Sonia Marie, that remind me to come out of that bubble and to seek assistance. You know,
Yes.
it also has assisted me in structuring myself. But I have a question that I want you to be able to say it twice before you leave. I'd like for you to let people to know how to get in touch with you, because that is the intention of this show, that me and Ruth, when we came together, we want to make available to the community people such as yourself, people so that people can access God inside of themselves with assistance, and also to pierce the veil and let people know that there is more than one way.
Yes.
God is creation. God is creative. So as creative as you're willing to be with your journey and your work, that is how expressive God can be in your life. So I would love for you to let people know how to get in touch with you.
Okay. First, excuse me. You can reach me by email. Email address is mquattl@hotmail. You can also reach me by phone, area code 323-246-1277. And I do have a Facebook group, and it's called Consciousness 101. And you
Yes.
can also use that. I'm new to the whole social media thing, so I'm crazy excited about where I am right now. So, and hey, but listen, this is a prayer come true for me,
Yes.
because I asked God to allow me to become more available to the technology that exists today. This is how things are being done.
Yes.
That's the only way.
Yes.
It is. And so here's an answer and a manifestation of my prayer.
Right.
Now, if you're curious about soul readings, if you know, here's the thing. I don't care why you come to me. I don't care if you're just curious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to give you the most honest reading
He means it.
that I can.
He means it.
And it's no charge if you're not 100% satisfied. And in most cases, it's no charge at all. Because if you really have a desire and you really need to know something, money's not going to be the issue that you and I don't talk.
He reminds me of myself.
That's not going to be it. None of us are doing this to get rich.
Wouldn't it be
We're
nice
not.
though?
Oh no, that's not saying we don't want to be rich.
Right. But that's
I
not
claim
why
that,
we're doing
but that's not
that.
why we're
Yeah.
doing
But you
this.
understand that wealth follows.
Yes.
Yes.
It does.
It's a natural trail. If you're doing what you do, the money gonna come.
The
Yeah.
universe rolls at your feet
and
when you follow
that's
the
why,
divine.
like what I said is, like, for myself, I had to really look in the mirror and say, well, how committed, how 100% are you? You know,
That's right.
And I didn't have a soul reading. I probably would love one.
Yes.
But I've never had a soul reading.
But here's the thing. Here is an example of wealth following. I'm here.
That's right.
Yes.
I'm on a, what am I on, a podcast?
Yes,
Hey,
podcast.
are you kidding me? Okay, so
right.
this is a manifestation of an inner desire to want to be more and do more, and I never knew that I would ever be here.
Yes.
And so
And we're going to have you back,
I'm
too.
so blessed and I'm so thankful just to be present and to add my voice and to lend my voice to what's already been shown to be
Yeah.
something so wonderful and so positive.
This
I
is
have one
for
question
us,
before
too.
you leave. When did you realize that you did soul readings or that you could do them?
Oh, boy. I love that question.
Well, you know, I think the real question is, when did I accept it?
There's
You always
Yeah,
do.
because I knew
That's
it,
that thing that
and
you
right,
ignore.
and it,
Yeah.
and it frightened me,
Uh-huh.
and then you know, and then when I
Right.
thought that I could, then as Precious said, then judgment got in the way because
Right.
then my ego thought it was doing it
Right.
and all of that. But
I'm
when
powerful.
Right. But when I was able finally to accept it, I'm going to say, believe it or not, it took about 20 years.
I believe that.
I believe that.
That
I know.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yes,
I used to
about 20,
Yeah.
20 years, you know.
I used to call it coincidence. Then I called it my big sister voice. Then I called it, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this.
Oh my God! I wanted to be that. Oh, I just
You know?
want. I told God one time, take this away.
Yes.
I just, you know, just let me be. I don't know, normal.
Right,
Yeah.
right. What is
Yeah.
that, though? What
Oh,
is
Lord.
that?
Well, you know, I think for all of us, what it was for me is that people had known me in so many ways, or thought they knew me in so many ways, and because of some of the life mistakes that they saw me made, and I wasn't walking on holy ground. You know, I wasn't walking on water yet because I wasn't Jesus in consciousness, but I was. So,
Yes, you are.
Oh my God!
Yes,
You got to
she
love
is.
Reverend Ruth. You got to.
So what happened was I realized I don't care about the past and what you think because it don't matter to me. This is what I am in this moment. And if you like what I'm saying, then you listen. And if you don't, see ya.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the truth doesn't change, and I'm living in my truth. And I love that you're a soul reader.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that
thank you
accept
guys
it.
so
I love
much.
it.
I appreciate it. I just want to leave one last thing
Please.
that you two had touched on. Back to our image and likeness. And so we are created in the image and likeness of God. We are God. We truly are. As our soul comes into this experience, it has to traverse our own mind and our own feelings and our own body. And these become veils. And they're energy veils, or what the world calls evil. Now, if the veil becomes too thick, then our perception is lost and we become lost. I ask you, where is the evil in you?
Love
Wow.
it.
Well-
I love that. I love that because that's our job, is to do our work. It's really about inner mastery, and as practitioners, igniting people to do their work,
Yes.
so that the soul can successfully, and I hate to say successfully because it really is about the journey, you know, and that what you don't accomplish in this time, the soul has the opportunity in the next.
Yes.
So it really is about, as practitioners, about igniting
And I just want to say
people.
one little thing.
Please.
Be willing to color outside the lines. Don't be so caught up in all of your belief system that you don't open your mind, because God sends us gifts of the Spirit
Yes.
every single day.
Yes.
And I would not want you to miss out on your soul reading.
Yes.
Because somebody said,
Yes.
girl, you know that's wrong.
Right.
So let's just open our minds and be aware that God is sending. He don't care how you get there. He's sending every kind of way.
I
Yes.
love that. You hear the
Take the
drums
walk.
from the MLK
The
parade. It's
MLK
like the
parade is
spirit
going on behind us.
Yes,
Happy
coming in the
MLK
road.
Day.
Go out there.
Right.
Michael,
Yes.
the gift of the Spirit. You are.
Phenomenal.
I'm going to mess with you.
No, we're gonna I want to say before we get out of here, we're going to have Dr. Aaliyah Mahone next week, and our topic is going to be happiness. How appropriate. And so let's just end on this note by saying thank you so much. I knew that when I met you, we were going to work together. I just didn't know what the work was
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
be. And I know that it continues on from here because I kind of got you to agree to come back before we went on air. So I'm going to hold you to that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we really need for people to hear more. We got our introduction into soul work, and now we're going to go deeper when you come back. And I hope that some people reach out to you.
And be sure to call in, because who knows? You might get a little soul reading while you're
Yeah,
calling in.
who knows?
Utilize the number. Come on, come out of fear, step into faith,
Be prepared
do your thing.
to be amazed, too. Be prepared
Yes.
to be
Yes.
amazed.
Yes.
Yes. It's amazing. Just like God is.
Hey, keeping it real.
Yes.
And listening with the third ear.
Yes,
All the
always.
time.
Thank you
Always.
so much.
Thank you,
Michael.
ladies, so much. It's been my pleasure.
It's been
a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm
Loving
so
every minute
happy
of it.
you're here.
Hey.
Yes. All right. That was good.